Because personally, I think me and you hated this movie infinitely more than we thought we were going to.
Yeah, I mean, I knew I wasn't going to enjoy it. That's why I haven't watched it before now.
Been out since 2013.
Yeah, so it's been out a couple years. Had no interest in seeing it. I knew it probably wasn't going to be very good, not just because of the bad reviews and the fact that it lost all that money. It was such a bomb. I mean, there are some movies that are bombs that are still kind of entertaining to watch, but this was not one of them.
Okay, we're here to sum it up. So take her away. So what are your ending comments? We basically didn't even hit this film. We didn't take it apart piece by piece and take you from the beginning to the middle to the end. This was pretty much just a rant of two pissed off individuals of how ridiculous this movie was. And it was. I mean, this movie's awful. This is just a bad film all the way around. Bad Western, bad everything. But if you were to pick one solid thing about this film that annoyed you the most, what would it be?
The script.
Script?
Yeah. I mean...
Or you could say two. So what, script and budget?
Well, usually the budget is based on the script. So they turned in the script and they said, we need to build the train, we need to do this, we need to pay Johnny Depp, blah, blah, blah. It's going to cost about this much money. And some genius at Disney was like, yeah, that sounds about right. Like, they should have said, this is ridiculous. Either rewrite it or, we're not going to let you make this thing. That's way too much money for a Western. I mean, I don't know. I think the fact that, obviously Johnny Depp was involved pretty early on because he's one of the producers or the executive producers, whatever. So he was probably there during the, the pre-production stages. He was probably there for some of the script rewrites and stuff. The fact that, Bruckheimer, Verbinski, Depp, they were all like looking at this and thinking, yeah, this is going to make a great movie. This
in unison. Like they were proud of this thing.
The humor in the movie was bad, and the action in the movie was ridiculous. It was okay. If you just go online and read various reviews about The Lone Ranger. One of the things that gets brought up a lot by critics bitching about this movie is the tone. They couldn't settle on a tone. Like, was it supposed to be a funny, goofy kids movie? Like the crap with the horse and, oh, isn't that funny? And Tonto feeding his bird on his head and blah, blah, blah. There's some funny, goofy kid stuff. Or was it supposed to be like a real Western? Because there's some shit. Some dude eats another dude's heart, and there's like this entire Comanche village that gets wiped out by the American, I guess the U.S. cavalry, was it the cavalry or whoever? Yeah, some George Custer looking motherfucker. And
who overacted bad.
Oh, Pepper, man.
Oh.
You could do better than that.
Guy's great too.
Yeah.
But I mean, whoa.
Did you like him in 61?
61.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, Saving Private Ryan.
Ryan.
He's good. Even the knockaround guys. He was the...
I forgot he was a knockaround guys.
Yeah. I mean, Pepper's pretty good.
But not in this movie.
Not. Well, I don't think anybody really was.
Really.
I mean,
there was no redeeming qualities.
Right. And that's one of those things where, getting back to your original question, why I think the script is the big problem, because honestly, I don't know if Arnie Hammer, the guy who played the Lone Ranger, I don't know if he was bad in this movie because he's a horrible actor or because he was just doing what the director told him to. I mean, it was one of those things like when the prequels came out and no one was really sure if Hayden Christensen was a shitty actor or if he was just doing what George Lucas told him to with his stupid Anakin Skywalker. I hate sand, it gets everywhere. Like,
it was kind of a combination of both. He was he was allowed to act ridiculous. That's where you man up as a director and say, hey, you suck. This isn't what I'm going for. But if you allow it, then you allow it.
Right. So anyway, I think it was just...
Yeah.
It was a script that didn't seem at all interested in the character. I mean, this is one of those things that you talk about all the time with remakes. Like, if you want to make a movie called don't call it Fright Night if it's not the same thing, or don't call it The Karate Kid if it's about some kid in China studying Kung Fu. I mean, if you don't like The Lone Ranger, then if you're not really excited about making a Lone Ranger movie, then don't fucking call it The Lone Ranger. I mean, first of all, this isn't like some name recognition thing like Ghostbusters. Everybody still knows who the Ghostbusters are. But The Lone Ranger, that's like 80 years old or 70 years old or some shit like that. Like, kids today have no idea who this guy is. You're not getting asses in the seats by naming it The Lone Ranger. And everybody's going to be like, oh yeah, I remember, I love The Lone Ranger. Let's go see that. No. Nobody knows what the fuck you're talking about. So if you don't want to make a Lone Ranger movie, just make something else. Like,
make a Western.
Yeah.
Even go so far as get Johnny Depp.
Yeah. Put Johnny Depp, and that way you could put in the weird stuff, and everyone will be like, okay, maybe they still won't like it, but at least they'll say, well, you know, they were trying to do something unique, but they weren't. They were basically, like you said, the Lone Ranger in this movie is a buffoon.
He's bratty.
He's
whiny.
Yep.
He's always talking crap to Tonto.
Yep. He doesn't decide to get heroic until the last 10 minutes of the movie.
Yep.
And by that point, it's just way too late.
For him to turn... okay. See, I'm not always trying to like blow smoke up your ass, but I have to agree with you. I really do. I have to agree that the strip is absolutely the quintessential part of this movie of why it smells and why it sucks. Because it also involves acting. You know, I have two. I want to add Johnny Depp to this, and I'm going to get to him in just a second. But I really want to hit on what you're saying. You know, I mean, first of all, he was allowed to act that way as a Lone Ranger. That was, I don't know if, again, we don't know necessarily if that was his interpretation or what, but he obviously had some influence to that character. And he was just, I refuse to believe with a budget that's almost $300 million, this is the best guy for the job that you could come up with for an actor. Unless that truly is the Lone Ranger that you're wanting to create and retell. And if that is the case, Jerry, it sucks. He's horrible. That is awful. That is a joke. It is a mockery of what the Lone Ranger is supposed to be and represent. Okay? This script, again, my problem is the other critic's problem. Is it a comedy or is it serious? It's okay to have comedic moments in a Western. Even dead serious Westerns. We all would agree that there are some funny, sarcastic moments in Tombstone. Probably one of the greatest Westerns of all time. Without a shadow of a doubt, that movie is one of the greatest Westerns of all time. The score, the costumes, everything. There's funny moments in that movie.
Yeah.
Okay, but it's not a comedy. It's clearly defined as a drama. You could see the dramatic... Everything in that movie is dramatic, all right? How do you pinpoint this movie? When this movie just starts to go one way, it goes right back to being stupid and silly. And that, a lot of it, is Johnny Depp, which is my problem. Because, to me, being that Bruckheimer likes him so much, it looks to me like they wrote the movie around Johnny Depp.
Yeah.
They didn't write it about the Lone Ranger. They wrote it about Tonto.
Yeah.
All right? And that annoys the living piss out of me because Tonto is his sidekick. And he is important. And if you go back and listen to the Lone Ranger, he's a very important part. And the Tonto and the Lone Ranger end up becoming friends. And they're more than just partners. They're friends. You know, but there are so many times in this movie where one could care about the other one. And granted, it's an origin story, but if you're going to go that angle, which is stupid, if you're going to go the fight at the beginning and become friends at the end, fine, but let it go so far and then rein it in. Don't allow it to continue to go on and on and on and on and on. I mean, we make it to that one part where they get out when they're buried up to their necks and they get pulled out and then they get drugged and all this. You know, the Lone Ranger leaves Tonto for dead. I don't know how many times. And it's not as a joke. He literally leaves him there to die.
Yeah.
He's not helping him out. I must go get justice. And that's all I keep hearing about. Like, oh, well, so it's just to leave your friend there who brought you back from the dead? That's just? Leave him there?
That's an excellent point,
you know? Come on! Get out of here with that shit. That's what these people, even a 5-year-old could figure this out, which is clearly what it's marketed for, and clearly they don't want me and you as a demographic. These people are out of their fucking minds.
Here's the thing. When you spend $200 million on a fucking movie, you want everybody
to see it. This should be...
Right. I mean, that's one thing. A lot of people make fun of James Cameron. He spends a lot of money. He makes these movies like Titanic and like Avatar. But people enjoy them. They have mass appeal. So he knows what he's doing. These people, they spend all that money and then they make it this movie that like little kids are probably not going to like that much because it's too long and it gets boring sometimes, and older people are not going to like because if they're actually fans of the Lone Ranger, they're going to be like, what is this shit? And like teenagers, I mean, I guess they can sit in the back row of the theater and make out because it's fucking long enough. Hell, you can get a girl pregnant.
No, that's getting ready to say.
I mean, this movie
3-hour-long smoldering turd.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know why anyone thought that this was a good idea. And like I said, that goes back, in my opinion, back to the script.
It does go with the script. And
I think you're right, too, that a lot of the problems with the script were probably that it was written for Johnny Depp. Yeah.
And that's why I have a problem with Johnny Depp. Now, you know as well as I do, and I'm here to vouch, I don't necessarily have a problem with Johnny Depp. As a matter of fact, as an actor, I used to admire Johnny Depp. That used to be a guy that I wanted to be. In the beginning of his career, I followed it heavily, and I loved a lot of his choices, and I loved a lot of his movies. But as he has gotten older, he has gotten lazy. He has gotten just totally reliant on Jack Sparrow to come into every single role that he approaches, and it was ladled on so thick in this movie. You might as well have just given him a sword instead of a gun or the bird seed. You know, I mean, that could have just been transferred into a parrot. Everything about him drove me insane in this film. With his faces, the facial expressions and the accent. And sometimes he's talking in broken sentences. And other times he's talking in full-fledged sentences. Well, what are you? Are you the original Tonto where you're like, "How, white man? Hi, Kimasabi." Or are you going to sit there and converse in full? I mean, what is that? What was that about? He's a better actor than that. We all know that. We could sit here and have, again, debates all long day or just round table discussions of the original brilliance of Depp as far as getting things. You know, he is a very good actor in his heart and in his soul, but this is just, again, more of his lazy acting, and I don't blame him. You're paying me $22 million? Whatever. Why should I give you a good performance? I've already got the money. But I have a little bit more integrity than that, and so do you. You want to give the audience more, and they owe us more. They owe us more. If I'm sitting there for 3 hours, I want a back massage. I want accoutrements. I want to be wined and dined. Make it worth my while to sit there, you son of a bitch. You have gone and done all these. You owe me more than that. I feel like the people coming out of this movie should have been written a check. That's what I feel like. I want some of that $300 million money. You should pay me as an audience member. You should pay a lot of people as an audience member. There should be a disclaimer. You were about to waste 3 hours of your life. I'm just saying. You know, I mean, maybe not a bad idea. They put Surgeon General warnings on everything else. Put it on this movie. Your ass will permanently grow roots watching this turd. I'm just saying. Anyway, we're getting way off. But so Depp and the script, I agree. Let's tie it together. And yes, Depp, because again, my take on what we're saying, my personal spin on it is everything agreed about the script, but also just the fact that because of Depp being who he is, they wrote this movie for him and not for the other guy and not for the Lone Ranger. It was all about Johnny Depp. Everything about this movie was Johnny Depp. Could we get more Johnny Depp in this movie is what it was. And could we get him to be more silly? I mean, I refuse to believe at any given point in time, and I don't care how big of an actor you are, you can't rein that in. You can't just say, hey, excuse me, this isn't what we're going for. A lot of actors we've read in interviews will tell you that they respect directors that say that to them because they're only going to allow to do whatever you allow them to do, and they're not going to tone any of that in. They're not going to rein any of that in, you know? But if you allow them, I mean, what was that? Was it in Thor
Yeah,
Anthony Hopkins even said he hated people kissing his ass.
Yeah, one of the reasons he liked working with Kenneth Branagh is because Branagh would be like, tone it down, or do it this way, or do that.
A little too Shakespeare here.
Yeah, you're going off a bit. And he was like, good, a director to actually give me direction. I mean, that's... But
let's be honest. I mean, you're going to put Johnny Depp in your movie. And we know plenty of people that are like this. Especially women. I'm sorry, but a lot of women find him very attractive. And they only care about the way he looks and how hot he is. But my argument to that is, how hot is Johnny Depp in war paint all the time? Cracked war paint. Withered away. I mean, let's be honest, he wasn't in his most physical fit role in either old Tonto or new Tonto. He was a little sloppy, a little flabby. He's hiding stuff here. He wasn't like in Jack Sparrow shape by any means. No offense. But I'm just saying, this guy wasn't exactly the big sex symbol. I mean...
And I understand if he's trying not to be, if he's trying
to be a noble savage, or he's
if he's trying to go some other direction with the character, and he doesn't want people just focusing on his appearance. Great, whatever. I guess he wants us to focus on the dead bird on his head,
which is just annoying. Again, that's what I'm saying. That's my problem. Like, that probably was his idea, considering that he got the idea. What was the name of the I Am Crow, the Native American artist? Again, I don't have the name off the top of my head, but he saw that painting, had an orgasm over it, and thought, this is the way I need to go. And even the artist himself got a little upset about it. He's like, "That you're not walking around in war paint all the time, man. The original Tonto doesn't walk around in war paint all the time. That's not their deal."
Yeah.
He wears a mask like the Lone Ranger. He has his... I mean, if I remember correctly... And I haven't even looked this up because it's been so long since I remember the Lone Ranger. But doesn't he have like a mask? I'm pretty sure he does.
I think some of them he does.
Like some of the old renderings of Tonto?
Yeah, I think on some of them. I mean, some of them he's just got the, the headband thing. But I want to say he's got an actual mask. I could be wrong. Whatever. It doesn't really matter. I mean, I guess they figured that...
Lone Ranger wears a mask. We give Tonto war paint, I guess, all the time. I don't know.
Anyway. Okay. Well, so what do you think? Did you like this movie? Are you somehow that masochistic?
Yeah.
That you enjoyed this thing?
Can you honestly defend this movie to us, please?
But anyway, if you agree with what you're saying, if you disagree with what we're saying, go ahead and let us know down in the comments, and like the video if you're so inclined, and thanks a lot for watching.
Yep.
We will see you next time.